It takes a village, because for all means for all. Together we'll break down any wall. Linked in love, we won't disarm. We're uniting the grassroots army strong. So press play, feel the spark. This is where the movement starts. It takes a village and we're the proof. Truth in action, raising the roof. It takes a village. It takes a village. We rise together, louder than fear. One voice, one fire, crystal clear. From every banner, every street, unity moves on dancing feet. We rise, together we're strong. A million hearts singing one song.
Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, hey village, welcome in. You're right where you're supposed to be. This is It Takes a Village, where we don't just talk politics, we build power. We ask better questions, and sometimes we flip a few tables. Metaphorically, mostly. I am Political Jess, your charming, furious, and deeply uninterested host in, business as usual. Before we jump in, I want to share a small but important shift that we're making starting tonight, and I want to be really clear about why. In the past, we've opened our panel right away for audience questions. That energy comes from a good place. People care. People are fired up. But it often pulled us in a lot of different directions and didn't always serve the deeper conversations this space was built for. So tonight we're doing things with a little more intention. For the first part of the show, I'll be guiding the conversation, asking questions that really help us understand who our guest is, what they stand for, and how change actually gets made. And then after that conversation, we're going to open it up to you. If you have questions for our guest tonight, drop it in the chat as we go. We'll be collecting them. And once we wrap up our main slate, the candidate will have just a few moments of space, as long as they can stay, to respond directly. Thank you so much for the heart me. Your voices absolutely still matter here. We're just giving them a little more structure that lets the purpose of the show really shine. So just a really quick vibe check. This is a guided conversation. I'll ask the questions. Our guest will answer. Candidates have about 2 minutes. I don't really time you. To answer those questions. Just, keep that. I'm planting the seed, if you will. Planting the seed in your mind. Drop your questions in the chat anytime. We'll get to them after towards the end. And if you're hanging out with us, tap the screen, share the live, invite a friend. Every tap helps this conversation reach someone who needs it. Are you all ready to get loud? Joining us tonight to flip tables in the most inspirational way, all the way from the great state of Illinois. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Kevin Ryan in town tonight. Welcome so much for joining us tonight, Kevin. Thank you so much for being here. See, it worked out great. Look,
That's perfect.
Where it's supposed to be. That's amazing. If you guys are not following our guest, you definitely should be, because he's got a really cool bus. So thank you. I would just like to point down to bring your attention to down below, the box below me. That is one of the puppies. That's Bagel.
Oh.
That's Bagel, and his brother next to him is Nugget. So, yeah.
I told you not to show me those pictures.
I didn't do it. I cannot take responsibility for that. That is my partner in chaos. Yes. Hey, Danny. So, okay, let's get started. The first section that we have is about the moment that changed everything. Now, you are familiar with the term, the camel, or the straw that breaks the camel's back. Mm-hmm. You've heard it a million times, right? Right now, we're not being hit with straws. We're being hit with the whole damn camel. It's very uncomfortable. We're all getting bludgeoned to death by so many camels. What was the camel that finally broke your back, that pushed you to run? And give us the skinny on your constituency and who you're fighting for.
Yeah, I mean, the camel was a similar one to most people. I think a lot of young people, a lot of grassroots candidates I've seen across the country that are running in this cycle was Donald Trump's return to the White House. It was such a critical failure. Like, our system has reached such a critical failure that we can't possibly rely on the people who delivered us to this moment to save us from it. And so that's why I decided to come home and run for office. I was stationed at the Pentagon at the time, and I was about to receive orders to the Defense Intelligence Agency. And instead, I decided to give that up and move back to Chicago and run for the U.S. Senate, which is what I'm currently doing. And I'm running for the whole state of Illinois, the great prairie state, all 12 million folks who live here. And it's been a really cool journey so far because I'm the only candidate who has traveled to every single county in Illinois, all 102, campaigning across every county with thousands of people in person, along with our social media presence too. We've reached over 10 million people. And it's been a really, really cool experience so far, kind of redefining politics away from the broken money model, which delivered us to the present chaos that we now see ourselves in.
Yeah, that's so incredibly important, and I think that it's a sentiment that we hear a lot here. So okay, before you were a candidate, you were a person watching all of this unfold. What were you seeing or experiencing that made waiting your turn feel impossible? Like, what was the catalyst? And obviously, we just talked about Trump being put back into office, but there was a moment where everything clicked. And tell us about that moment.
Yeah, so I think it's when I moved to DC for work. So after Afghanistan, I went to grad school at Oxford, and then from there I got assigned to DC, and I did a couple assignments in Europe. But I was basically going back and forth from DC to different places. And so I got a peek behind the curtain on Capitol Hill in the House of Representatives. I got to work in the Treasury Department and in the Pentagon. And, you know, as you're growing up and as a young adolescent and as a young adult, you always think that there's this group of people that are just much smarter than you who are running the show. And after I got to peek behind the curtain a little bit, I got to realize that, yes, there are a lot of people who are smarter than me that are doing phenomenal work, but there's also a lot of people that are not. And a lot of those people are making decisions that directly impact our lives. And the bar, in fact, is not that high. And in fact, I am overqualified than many other members of the U.S. Senate in many regards. And so that's when I'm like, okay, it was kind of like a wake-up call for me. And then like just living and working in D.C., seeing these things, and then understanding that, okay, it's time for our generation to step up. Like, we just can't always rely on these proverbial adults to run the show. Like, we do have to take over. And I think Trump's return to the White House was that jolting moment. It was like, okay, it's now or never. Like, what are you waiting for? Are you waiting for the republic to collapse and then, you know, run to be president of Illinois? It's, you know, that's now is the time.
Yeah, I know I shouldn't laugh about those things, but honestly, that's kind of, I feel like we're kind of there, right? Like it was bad enough the first time, right? And we thought that the mechanisms in place failed over and over and over and over again the first time. You would think that we would have learned something, but it didn't pan out that way.
Yeah, honestly, the first time, I think a lot of the mechanisms worked to a degree to keep him kind of contained, where like now they're just doing stuff that is blatantly illegal and waiting for the process of the courts to work itself out, to then have the courts be like, well, you can't do that. It's like, well, we knew they couldn't do that. So they just do it for like a couple months until the courts work themselves out and say, you can't do this. That's how they've been pushing the envelope this time. And he's also surrounded himself with just absolute sycophants. Like DHS is like no longer credible. Like you can't trust the official statements coming from the TSA or Border Patrol or ICE or anywhere in DHS. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just absolutely insane. How mad are you?
Pretty upset. I mean, like I joined the Marine Corps to, put my body on the line for this idea of our democracy, where we believe all people are created equal with inalienable rights, and that we constructed this government through the Constitution to protect those rights. And now we have a president that's actively trying to divide us and pit us against each other and trample overtly on those rights. It's infuriating. This is not the democracy I taught to my students. It's not the democracy I risked my life for overseas. It's not why I've committed my life to public service. And that's why I thought before I descend into complete cynicism, I will at least jump into the arena myself and lead a campaign the way that I would want to see a campaign led. Because as much as the Republicans that follow Trump are just in a more or less a cult, the Democratic Party is culpable too, because they've become so corporatized and reliant on the big donor class that they've forgotten their roots. We've lost the working class. We've lost union workers. I mean, 60% of the building trades voted for Trump. They're voting against their own pocketbooks and their own interests. Like, well, how did the Democratic Party let this happen? And Illinois is a great example. The Democratic Party of Illinois doesn't even try. In 2024, they didn't even put up a candidate against Mary Miller down in the 15th district. They just like, all right, she just gets to be the congresswoman. Like, we have so much money and resources in this state that if we marshaled all of that against the 3 Republican seats we have, we could flip the House. Like, one of my opponents brought $19 million into this race. Our governor just poured $5 million into it. What if we took that $24 million and poured that into downstate candidates who are trying to flip red seats? Because it can be done. Look what just happened in Texas. But instead, the Democratic Party of Illinois is just so it's out of touch with what people actually want or how to win Republican voters because everything is so gerrymandered. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent there. I'll let you get back to your no, yes, I'm pissed off is the answers.
Kevin's ready to fight, y'all. Be careful. Okay, so just a reminder for the chat, we are changing things up a little bit. If you have a question, save it for the end. We're going to keep track of them, and we're going to ask all of the questions at the end. If we tap to 100,000 K, guys, then It Takes a Village will make a donation to Kevin Ryan's campaign. So make sure you keep tapping, okay? Tapping is clapping. Let's get this man some dollars, okay? We could probably buy you a cup of coffee. It's really not that much. I got 9 puppies, remember? Okay. Okay. What do you think people watching tonight might recognize in your story? That moment where frustration turns into responsibility.
That's an interesting question. I think that our campaign is definitely in this race. It's the most accessible campaign, and it's the most, I feel, down to earth and authentic because I've designed it that way to show that I am just a normal person who wants our democracy to function the way it's supposed to function, as opposed to someone who's trying to launch a political career and be successful in Politico, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think it's just, for me, this campaign was taking that first step of taking that action or that motivation and that frustration and that anger and taking that first step, jumping into the void. And whether that's launching a campaign for the United States Senate or grabbing a whistle and going out to a protest, those are all the same thing. It's taking a step and it's going out the door to move the needle in some way. And we all have a role to play and we all have to move the needle. And that's what's beautiful about our pluralistic society, that no one has all the answers, but if we all work together and I serve you and you serve me, we can uplift all of society. So I hope people can see that in our campaign, that this whole thing, it's not about me. It's about what our country should represent, how our democracy should work. We should have competitive elections. Like, Trump is not the product of the national will. He's a product of a broken system. And the unfortunate truth is that both Democrats and Republicans reinforce that broken system by prioritizing money over everything else.
Yeah. And that's really important. So I don't know if I know you've been on these kinds of lives before where people ask you questions and they ask about your platform. We do things a little bit different. And I probably should have prefaced this at the beginning of the show. Your platform is probably well fleshed out on your website, right? Mm-hmm. Like, all of the stances of things that are important to you, they're all going to be on your website. If you guys have questions about his platform, I would highly encourage you to go to the website. You can just hit me in the face, hit my nose, tap my nose. It's fine. What we do here is we try to inspire people to get involved. And you, sir, are going to be a conduit for that. So that's what our questions are centered around. And I probably should have specified that. So we do it a little bit differently. And I hope that that's okay.
No, that's great.
So next we want to talk about values, your platform, and lived reality. What core values guide every decision that you make, and how do those values show up in your platform in ways that people actually can feel in their day-to-day lives?
I think the most important value that I try to lead by is setting the example, living your values, or walking the walk, whichever one of those speaks to you. Because I think that's what's sorely lacking in a lot of our politics is we have politicians that are molded by a consultancy class and everything's well polished, and they lose a little bit of their humanness. And because of that, they come off as inauthentic and then untrustworthy as an ultimate result. So everything that I do, I try to lead by example and not say one thing and do another. And it's very difficult, especially in politics, which is when money drives everything. The whole purpose of our campaign is to try and show that there's another route to political success that doesn't rely on spending hours on the phone every single day, just calling wealthy out-of-state donors, trying to get a couple $100 to $1,000 donated to your campaign so you can raise $1 million or so and then spend all that money on TV ads. That is not campaigning. That's a tech startup, and you're trying to advertise for it.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to lead by example by campaigning. That's why I've campaigned in all 102 counties. That's why we go to the places that other candidates don't go. There's no place too far, no group of people too small. Like we go and speak to everyone. And I think it's working. People can see that I'm coming out there with my physical presence. I'm showing up, showing you that you matter, that you value, that your time is valuable, and I want to share my time with you. And I think that's how that's the most important thing when it comes. So whenever there's a question about a policy platform or my opinion on something, I treat it as I'm not worried about what are the polls going to say, what's public opinion on this issue. I'm going to tell you what I think, because that's how these things should work. I'm putting myself into the public forum, expressing my ideas and thoughts, and you will weigh those ideas and thoughts against your own values. And if we align to a degree that is sufficient to you, then you will give me your vote. And that's like how our democracy is supposed to work, but it doesn't. It's all about buying name recognition, but I don't play that game. So I live my value, and instead I try to reach people on the human level.
So let me ask you this. We manifest shit around here. Let's say you win your seat. And you will, because we manifest that shit around here.
Manifest.
Okay? We manifest. Okay, so let's say you win your seat, and there's something that is up for a vote that you have strong feelings for, but your constituency doesn't agree for the most part, and the people that you hear from don't agree with your stance. How are you going to address that?
That's a very interesting philosophical question, and I think that actually gets down to the root of the House of Representatives versus the Senate. The House of Representatives is supposed to act as delegates, where they are supposed to carry the will of their district and more or less vote that way. When the Senate, they're not delegates; they are they're trustees, and so they're supposed to have the best interests of the state in mind and vote based on the best interests of the state. So it's hard to say in a hypothetical without knowing what the exact question is. But what I would tell you is, regardless of public opinion, I would only vote on things that would be for the best interests of the people of Illinois and the country. I think that's probably the most honest way to answer that without having like a specific case in front of me.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So when you talk to folks in your community, what issue comes up again and again and again that people outside of your community might not fully understand?
Oh, that's an interesting one, because Illinois is such a diverse state. A common thing that issue that always comes up is affordability, and that's across the state. That's from down in Cairo, Illinois, on the southern tip, up to Chicago, and from the Gold Coast down to Englewood. People are struggling to afford to live. But there's a very unique one, I think, with Illinoisans, which is energy, because we are transitioning away from coal-powered energy to renewable energies. The issue is, though, we are shutting down coal power plants without having renewable energies in place to replace that supply. And so the demand is the same, but the supply is now being cut. And so we're now importing energy supply from out of state that's still being produced by burning coal. It's just costs twice as much now because it's getting imported. And so that's one of those like wonky policy things that people don't really talk about. You don't hear it about unless you go to these rural communities that used to rely on these power plants. Now the power plants shut down. Now they've lost 250 jobs, and now their electric bills have gone double. And that particularly hurts these rural communities as opposed to like Chicago. Chicago is fine because they source their energy from a number of different sources, and it's not just relying on some of these coal power plants in central and southern Illinois. So that's like one issue that's people outside that community might not understand.
Awesome. Okay. What's one part of your platform that you think deserves more attention than it gets, and why?
One thing that I think we should talk about more are our territories. I have that on my website, and people have, so that's kind of weird that you're talking about like territorial self-determination, but to those people, it's not weird. I mean, you talk to people who live in Guam and Northern Marianas, and that's like the most important issue to them. And as someone who's traveling I haven't been to Guam or the Northern Marianas, but I've been to every other territory, and I lived in DC, and I believe DC needs to be a state. I believe Puerto Rico should have the ability to enter into full statehood if the referendum proves that that's what they want. And I just think that we shouldn't have colonies, essentially. That's what they are. And we need to provide the people of those territories with the absolute self-determination for them to determine their constitutional relationship with the United States. I just think it's because it's a principled matter that it doesn't affect the United States very much, but it affects the people who live there. And we should be living our values as a country and say that, you are either a full participatory citizen and a state or you're not. And right now they're not. So I think we need to give them that ability.
I completely agree with you. 100,000, 100,000, a million percent, millions of percent. How has your lived experience shaped the policies that you're fighting for, and where have you had to listen and learn from others to get it right?
I mean, I've had to listen and learn from others in every aspect of my life. I mean, I don't think anyone just walks into a job or a position, they have all the answers. Mm-hmm. But I think being a public school teacher was definitely the most formative service or the thing that I've done in my life. And I had a professor, a special education professor at the University of Illinois, who had probably the most profound impact on me. He was a deacon in the Catholic Church, and he was very close with me while I was a student there, and he allowed me, he gave me a lot of great lessons about how to be a teacher. It wasn't what he said, it was how he did it. He always made himself available and showed himself that time and showing up matters. And that's what it means to be a teacher. And when he passed away, he planned his own funeral as a deacon in the church, and it was kind of like his last lesson plan to us all. And the processional hymn as his casket was moved out of the church was the servant song, which reads, "Let me be your servant, let me be like Christ to you, and pray I might have the grace to let you be my servant too." And while I'm not religious, I think that song really sums up what it means to be human. It's like I already said this before, like, let me serve you and pray that I have the grace to let you be my servant too. Like, this is it. Like, no one is the Messiah. No one has all the answers. You shouldn't put all your faith in one person to save everyone. Like, we have to save each other. We have to work together. And that's what society is. And that's how I've kind of framed my entire philosophical understanding of government and service, is that we are here to serve each other. And that's how I approach anything when it comes to government.
I think it is so important that the people who are in our halls of Congress and our halls of the Senate have service-minded hearts. And I feel like that's something that we've lost, and you could tell when somebody is like a service-minded individual, when they have a servant's heart. And it's not like, let me clean your dishes for you kind of a thing. It's just like, how can I help? And they come to the table with solutions and suggestions, and I feel like we've sort of lost that. So it's really refreshing to hear you say that.
Well, I mean, it's because, again, it's like our system encourages and elevates narcissists, for lack of better terms.
You can say that.
You have to be like, the most successful politicians are typically narcissists, because you really have to like love yourself and be self-absorbed to like market yourself in such a way to win the popularity contest that is our elections. And, narcissists aren't service minded, right? They're only worried about themselves and their careers. And that's typically why we see the trope of politicians, that they only care about their careers. And unfortunately, it feels like many cases it's just true. And they're certainly not everyone, but it's those people that are service oriented, I think, are the exception as opposed to the norm. I think you're spot on.
Yeah. Okay, so let's switch over to trust, accountability, and keeping your promises. This is another question that I ask just about every candidate that comes onto the show. Many people feel betrayed by candidates who make these big, bold, progressive promises and then they cave once they're in office. So how do you ensure that you're going to stay true to the message that you've built and do what politicians don't? Actually keep your promise and stay rooted in the grassroots movements that got you here.
Totally. It's a great question. And if you go onto my website, kevinryan.com, selfless plug there, speaking about narcissism.
Plug. I love that. Love it. I love it.
If you go, another plug, if you go to kevinryan.com and you go to my issues page, you'll see like the issue that's most important to me, because I believe it's the foundational crack in our democracy, which is the unlimited role of money in politics. I have a joint resolution that I wrote, mostly plagiarized it from previous joint resolutions that failed, but it is that's how we should do things. That's how I learned as a teacher. Never reinvent the wheel, right? Beg, borrow, and steal, right? And so I don't want to take full credit for it, but I did technically write it while plagiarizing.
Love it.
And so that's the purpose of this campaign. I like to look at myself as if I am on my way to Washington, D.C. with that joint resolution. It's 112 words and it would fundamentally change our democracy. I'm on my way to drop that into the hopper on the floor of the United States Senate to amend the Constitution to take money out of politics. And I've been campaigning on that issue this entire time, going across state. And I'm winning support across Democrats, Republicans, and independents. Like 72% of Americans want this. It's the most bipartisan issue. The only people who don't want it are those who are in power because it changes the rules. Elections more competitive and it risks them losing their seats. So that's why it's a very popular thing amongst incumbents. But the only way I can promise you that is actually what I'm going to do is like I'm on my way to do it.
I love that. That's amazing. So when pressure comes from party leadership, and it will, money, or the way things have always been done, what is your compass?
My compass is that idea of why I want to amend the Constitution is to make our democracy function again, where we have an equal playing field, where it's not money that determines a candidate's viability. It's their ideas, their character, and their merit. And that's how our democracy is supposed to function. And I know that if I want to take money out of politics, and if I want to get 2/3 of both the House and the Senate to pass such an amendment, it's going to ruffle some feathers. But that's why I remain committed to it. I think it's easier to remain committed to in a principle like that because people understand where you're coming from and they know how to work with you if you remain moored to that principle. So the principle that I believe in is making our democracy work so that we can have a government that provides for its people. We pay taxes, but we don't really receive the benefits of those taxes. We should have Medicare for all. We should have universal child care. Our public schools shouldn't be funded based on zip code. These things don't happen because the wealth in this country is trapped at the top and we allow it to stay there and they get wealthier and we continue to struggle by with what we have. That's because our democracy doesn't function. And so when it comes to party leadership, trying to pressure me to do this or that, that is why I want to run for U.S. Senate, because individual senators have the autonomy and the birth they need to be independent and to act as independents, to use that independence to leverage it to enact what they want done. And what I want done is to make our democracy function. And so if party leadership wants me to get behind them to support them, then they would support this, which they should support because they all say it on their websites that they want to end Citizens United. But I guess, yeah, that's my mooring principle is to make our democracy function properly.
Amazing. And I know that we sort of talked about this a little bit earlier, but it's a formal question and I got to ask it. So what does accountability to your community look like when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable?
No, that's a great question. You know, the easiest form of accountability, which doesn't happen across the board in Democrats and Republicans, showing up. I mean, just show up, talk to your voters face to face, have town halls, have a bunch of town halls all over the place. It should be easy for your constituents to come out and see you.
What's a town hall? I'm only asking this because my representatives are Ted Cruz, John Cornyn, and Craig Goldman, and I don't think that I've ever heard the term town hall from these guys before. So, yeah, just saying.
Exactly. And I tell you what, I like in Illinois, out of the Chicagoland area, there's 102 counties, and about 96 of them are all Republican. But I've still campaigned in all of them. And I will just go into a small town that's mostly Republican voters, and I will insert myself into the community, and I will talk to them. And a lot of times I get like, oh, you know, what are you doing down here if you're a Democrat? And I say, would you prefer I don't come? I could stay up in Chicago. That's where all the money and votes are anyway. Don't have to come here. But I hope that me coming here is proving to you that you matter, that you're valuable and your perspectives matter. And I seek to represent the whole state, not just Chicago and not just Democrats. And I think you just have to do that. You have to have, for lack of better terms, you have to have the balls to show up, especially when it's unpopular, when people like to defend your record. And if you're voting authentically and you're proposing legislation that you authentically believe in, you shouldn't have a problem defending that to anyone.
Yeah, I think that there's that's one of the reasons I often think back to when Colin Allred was running against Ted Cruz here in Texas, and he didn't do that. He didn't go to these rural communities. He stayed in his safe blue areas and lost the election. Shocker. So don't do that. Don't be like that. And I think that he's doing some other political things now. I think he's learned his lesson, but it's a tough lesson to learn, and I'm really glad that you don't have to learn it. So thank you for that. That's great. So okay, how do you plan to stay accessible once you're in office? Because we manifest that shit around here, not just during the campaign season, but when the cameras are gone.
Right, and I'm going to do it the same way that I'm doing it right now. Because when you buck the fundraising model, the multi-million-dollar campaign model, you free up about 2/3 of your time, right? It's our outgoing Senator Durbin. He said it himself. The American people would be shocked, not surprised, shocked if they knew how much time a United States Senator spends fundraising. Even worse in the House because they're always campaigning. So if I'm able to get elected, paving a new path to electoral success that doesn't rely on the donor class or big money, then I don't have to worry about fundraising. I don't have to worry about the money issue. I broke the code to the game.
Yeah.
And I will continue to do what I'm doing, which is holding town halls in rural America, in suburban America, in Chicago, going across the state as I've been going. I mean, I've traveled to every county in 7 months, and our own governor and lieutenant governor, who've been in office for 7 years, haven't done that. That's the problem, is that we need to show up. Democrats and Republicans, they need to show up. We need to stop spending time on the phone with wealthy donors and instead show up, talk to the people face to face. And it does teach you too. It's not just about accountability, about like people being able to see you and access you. You learn too. I've learned so much. My platform has been refined so much simply by talking to ordinary people across the state.
Amazing. Okay, so let's change gears a little bit here and talk about the power beyond the candidate. Okay, we say it all the time here. Real change doesn't come from just one person with a title, and we've kind of talked a little bit about this already. But I want to know what shared power actually looks like in your campaign.
Sorry, can you say that?
Yeah, we talk about how change doesn't come from just one person with a title. Like It doesn't come from the top down, trickle down economics.
No messianic.
Reagan, yes. What does shared power look like in your campaign?
Yeah, shared power looks like grassroots power. And the only way that we will enact the reforms we need to ratify an amendment to the Constitution that takes money out of politics that overrules Citizens United and Buckley versus Vallejo. The only way we'll get there is by a groundswell of a popular coalition from the bottom up. We will need to pressure Democrats and Republicans to get behind this amendment. And that's been the history of campaign finance reform. It's always happened by a reformer stepping up and getting a reluctant Congress to pass it, because Congress never wants to change the rules that puts them in office, because that's what keeps them in office.
Right.
And so that coalition is going to be that groundswell of support. The 72% of Americans that want this amendment, those are the people we're going to tap into. And so what I like to tell people is, if we make history here and we show that there's a new path to political success, then on November 3rd, after the general election, to January 3rd, when the new Congress or the new Senate gets sworn in, that 2-month period, I will get in my big green school bus, and just like I've been canvassing in the red counties of Illinois, I will canvass in a very circuitous route to Washington, D.C., the red states. And I would hope that Bernie Sanders and AOC would join me on this tour as well, just like they've been doing on their own. And let's put a legislative proposal behind it. Let's put the 28th Amendment, joint resolution that I'm on my way to deliver. Let's get the popular support. Let's have the rallies in rural America so that by the time that we get to D.C., we have the popular support necessary to push this over the line. I think it gives people a tangible action, right? People are hungry to do something, to act, but they feel like they don't have a voice. They feel like that their actions don't matter. But if we have a piece of legislation and say, I need you to call your senators, and you need to write them right now, this is the most important thing. We need to get this over the hill. We need to level the playing field for our politics so we can stop electing the same people over and over again who are beholden to the donor class and not us. But that's going to take everyone. I'm willing to spearhead it, and I'm willing to be the reformer and the renegade on the inside to do that. But I will not be able to get 2/3 of the House and Senate to pass that, let alone 3/4 of the state legislatures, without this huge groundswell of grassroots popular support.
And I think that we're seeing that right now everywhere. And just to take a little moment to celebrate the win, the juicy, beautiful, wonderful win in Tarrant County, Texas on Saturday. Oh my gosh. I don't know if you guys know this, but that county went to Trump by 20 points or something crazy like that. And Taylor Ramette just knocked it completely out of the water. They are scrambling to the point where old Daddy Dumpy Pants was a little upset about it on his little last social platform, So, that's always fun. But I thought it was great. And we need to celebrate our wins, especially in the moment that we're in. So take a moment.
Totally. Yes.
It is a bellwether for things to come for sure. Okay, so who do you think gets left out of the political conversation the most often? And how does your platform intentionally bring them in?
Most often, honestly, it is just working people. I honestly think that working people they don't have a party, really. The Democratic Party it's pro-labor, and it wants to be this big tent that's going to help the working class, but they're so dependent on the donor class and the elites that why don't we have the things that they promise? Why can't we even get a vote on Medicare for all?
Yeah.
When they're in power, and that's when you talk about under-delivering, as you mentioned earlier, about Democrats promising these things, campaigning on these things, but then they don't deliver. And so I do think that that working people are the ones who are truly left out. The people who don't have the money to donate thousands of dollars every single year to candidates so that they can call their cell phones. I met a big donor in Chicago who told me he has 5 members of the Illinois delegation in his cell phone, and he can call them right now and they will answer. I'm like, my brother in Christ, don't you see how that's the problem? If I want to call my congressman, I'm going to call the district office. If someone answers, it's going to be an intern who can't give me any real information and is just terrified to talk to a human being on the phone because they're 20 years old and it's their first job. But because you have thousands of dollars, you get to call your member of Congress on their cell phone, and they'll answer. So the working people truly, I don't think have a party.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. My representative hangs up on me because his staff do, and I'm not mean to them, but they just know that I'm a pink-haired liberal with a septum ring, and I'm not I'm not a traditional Texan, so to speak. So they don't like talking to me, which I find kind of hilarious. Okay, so what has this campaign taught you about the power of everyday people?
Oh, wow. So it's been a super cool experience. It's been really interesting to go through it firsthand because I would create a metaphor of this campaign as a tent. And the tent is basically the political insiders, right? So everyone inside of the tent, they're the ones who are and part of the political industrial complex. They're the elected representatives, they are the consultants, they are the donors, the people on the inside of the tent. But it's a very small tent, but that's where all the power is consolidated. And then on the outside of the tent, it's the 9 million other people, or 10 million other people in Illinois who are voting age. And they're the ones who give me all of the support. I get no support, very little from the people inside the tent because I'm rattling the cage about how the processes that they're using and reinforcing are broken and they're not producing competitive elections. And the best example in Illinois, the Democratic stronghold of the country, we still don't have publicly financed campaigns. We don't have ranked choice voting. We don't have open primaries. And all those things produce a General Assembly, our state legislature, where half of the people in the state legislature did not face opponents in the primary or the general election. They just filed the nominating paperwork and then they are in. That is not democracy. We need competitive elections. And so I've seen how the power of ordinary people, all the people outside of the tent, how they have uplifted this campaign through their grassroots donations, through volunteering. Everyone has played like a certain role, and it's been so cool. People have hopped on and off the bus at different times, moving this campaign forward, and it's been a very cool thing to see it happen. Even our website, kevinryan.com, we did not own that domain when we started this campaign. There was another Kevin Ryan who had just recently retired as a music teacher in Illinois, nonetheless, and he reached out to our campaign and said, hey, I just retired. I don't need this domain anymore, and I want to give it to a noble cause. Do you guys want it? And I was like, of course. How much do you want? It's like, oh, no, you can just have it for free. He gave us the domain for free. It's the opposite of what happens. Normally people buy up these domains and then they try to sell them to like when they run for president or something, right? We had the opposite. So it's like this has been a very cool grassroots campaign to see the people who are really just hungry for something different, something real, as opposed to the same bogus status quo, business as usual, like corporate Democrat politicians that we typically have. And that's what's kept this whole campaign alive. Without the people on the outside of the tent, I wouldn't be campaigning right now. I'd be dead in the water.
That's amazing. It's so good to have that kind of support and from people who can feel your momentum and they can feel your energy and they're like, yes, that's my guy. That's who I want, or gal, ladies, just let me just level with you. Ladies, you have to be asked 7 times before you actually commit to running for office. Someone has to ask you 7 times to run for something before you actually commit to do it. Can we break that cycle, please? If you are thinking about running for office, ladies, please do so because we need you. I'm just saying. Okay.
Totally.
So I know that you just spoke on this a little bit, but I'm going to ask you to share another little nugget for us. Can you share another moment where community action, not a speech or a headline, genuinely moved the needle?
Community action genuinely moved the needle. Okay, I mean, this doesn't really have anything to do with the campaign.
That's okay.
Is that okay? So I think that in my life, one of the coolest moments that I was able to be a part of was also a tragedy. It was the collapse of Afghanistan, when the U.S. just kind of ripped the rug out and left a lot of people there that were not supposed to be left behind.
Yeah.
And when I was in Afghanistan, a couple of my interpreters were still there. So I had 6 interpreters in total. 2 of them were left behind after the last U.S. Air Force plane left from HKIA in Kabul. And I kind of went into crisis mode and tried to do everything I could to help get these people, connected with whoever they had to. None of it worked. I kept failing. But what I found along the way was this network of like-minded people, mostly veterans, who kind of stepped up. They called it digital Dunkirk in like signal chats and things of that nature to help connect people to resources. And it was this community of mostly veterans, not all veterans, that stepped together to fill the void of the government, because the government was basically like, nope, sorry, there's nothing we can do, that we're no longer there. And in doing that, we were able to coordinate safe houses. We were able to coordinate transportation and food. And I mean, for 2 years, I basically funded this family to their food and fuel while they're in hiding from Afghanistan, from the Taliban in Afghanistan. And then through this network, I was able to arrange for them to get to Pakistan. And then eventually from Pakistan, they found their way to the United States. And now they're in their forever home in Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C. And I think it's such an awesome moment. And I usually look at this moment too when people tell me that the campaign I'm trying to run is, outrageous, it's quixotic, it's going to fail. It simply can't be done. And the last time I heard those words was when I talked to a person in the U.S. mission in Tajikistan as I was trying to get my people out somewhere. And the State Department told me, it simply cannot be done. There's nothing that we can do. And I was like, okay, hold my beer. Don't tell me it's impossible. We're not going to do it. And it worked. And it's like now they're here. They have a beautiful family in Maryland. And it's because a whole bunch of people stepped up together and said, like, no, we made a promise to you. Our country made a promise to you. Whether our government fulfills that or not, we will fulfill that promise. And I think that is probably the most poignant example of community action working, especially outside the bounds of government.
Yeah. I think that's amazing. And I just want to point out that Bridget said, I care way more about that than your campaign, actually. And I'm going to go donate to you just for that. So just so you know, you're, making waves over here. Okay. So now I want to talk to you about activating the village. A lot of people care deeply, but they don't see themselves as political. What would you say to someone who feels that pull but doesn't know where they fit?
I get it. I mean, I went through a lot of that when I was deciding to run for office or not. And I just thought that the reason I decided to run for office was that is where I feel like I can move the needle the most, is that I have a lot of complaints about the Democratic Party, but the way that our system is right now, I thought it'd be easier to try and reform it from the inside as opposed to trying running as an independent or something and try to reform it from the outside. But I think that's you gotta see where you can move the needle and focus on that and take whatever action you can towards moving that needle. And I think what the cool thing about this campaign is the idea of taking money out of politics. This constitutional amendment that I'm advocating for is really nonpartisan and has bipartisan support. So at the very least, this idea that money is not speech, corporations are not people, and Congress can regulate spending in our elections, that is not a partisan ideal. So that's like, I think at the very least, we can all get behind that. If you truly believe in our democracy and want to celebrate the 4th of July, then we should all get behind this idea that the ultra wealthy should not be running our government by controlling our elections with their tremendous wealth. But whatever it is that you can do, like I said earlier, like if that's going to a protest, if that's going out with your cell phone and your whistle to document ICE, if it's making a donation to a political campaign, if it's writing an email to your senator or representative that you've never written before, finding something and doing that is, whatever it is, every little bit helps move the needle.
Definitely. Let me ask you this, and this isn't on my list. Hey, we had 100K. You guys are rock stars, man. Congratulations. I'm going to donate a puppy. I'm kidding. I'm only sort of a little bit kidding. We'll chat. Get your girlfriend on the line. We'll chat.
So we're gonna take all 14.
Let's go. Okay, so here's what I want. Thank you, Kim. Look, he just want to scritch him. He's so cute.
No.
Let me ask you this: do you feel like human rights and human compassion are political topics?
No, I don't think so. They shouldn't be, right? I mean, we have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We have, international law, which is based on individual rights. The founding of this country, the most important sentence, the soul of this country is we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all people are created equal, endowed by certain inalienable rights. Like, that's the foundation of this country, is that we each have inalienable rights. That's the very purpose of the government, the Constitution that we created, and the laws that we pass, and the government that we have. It's founded on this idea of individual inalienable rights that are given to us by nature.
What do you tell people who claim that it's a political issue?
If what's a political issue?
Human compassion.
I don't know. I would just look at them perplexed. I don't know how can you give me an example of how human compassion is a political issue?
I think that's a great answer. Thank you for that.
Okay.
I did that for one of the people in the chat. V, that's for you. That's how it should have been answered. We had somebody that there was a thing. It was a thing. So anyways, okay. So voting matters. We say this all the time. Voting totally matters, but our duty does not stop and start at the ballot box. We have to do more than that. So what are some of the most powerful ways that people can show up in between elections?
So I think emailing your members of Congress is a very effective way to do it, because if your member cares, then they will have good constituent services. Like, that's the bread and butter. If you can't handle constituent services, you gotta go. Like, that's the most basic function an office should perform. And I will tell you, don't write a letter. Save yourself the postage, the time, and the hassle, because if you write a letter, it gets sent to a central processing center. They open it up, and then they scan it, and it gets emailed. So just email your representatives. It's more effective than calling as well, because calling, you might just get a deadline. If you leave a message, someone might not even listen to it, or you get an intern that isn't really going to be listening anyway. But the emails, they get compiled, and if they have good constituent services, they will have a staff member whose sole job is to go through the emails and compile a list of issues that constituents are writing about. And so it feels very small, but it's no smaller or bigger than voting. That if every issue that you care about, you should be sending an email to your representatives and your senators. And the litmus test I use is if it's something that you bring up in conversation, if you're just at dinner or getting lunch with a friend and you're like, you know what, this stuff with ICE is out of control. Right? If that's something that you say, then that is something that you should let your senators and your member of Congress know as well. I think if it comes out in conversation, it's very easy just to send an email and just do it. Do it all the time. Just blast them with emails. Let them know that, like, this is the pulse. This is what I think. It's a very simple way. And again, it alone, not one of us is going to make that kind of impact. But if together, just like when we compile our votes together, if you compile those messages together, I think that does have an impact. And it's a great way to let people know, like, public pressure does work. Because if you remember that the reason that money plays such a central role in our politics is because like, incumbents prioritize one thing over anything else, and that's not losing. They don't want to lose their seat. And so public opinion does matter, even though money is used to kind of control that. If they're getting all of these emails, it does, the pressure can work. And so I think sending emails to your members of Congress and your senators whenever you have a thought if you have a political thought, let them know. Also show up to, like, the protests, like 5051 and the No Kings. Show up to those protests. Even, again, your body just being there contributes to the sea of people. And so one of us alone will not be able to do it, but when we all come together, that's that collective action that shows that this is not okay. So I think those are all simple ways for us to get involved. And if you're really, like, kind of just pissed off and you want to flip some tables, go run for office. And do it unabashedly, unapologetically, authentic, and yourself, and just call out the flaws of the system. Flip tables, throw chairs, like, let everyone know that that's what I've been doing. And it ruffles a lot of feathers, but I don't care. It's like, this is not it. Look around. Yeah. We're at the threshold of hell. This is not. You're the the ones who led us here. So don't go up there and tell me like, oh, I'm going to fight Trump. You've had 15 years to fight Trump. What have you been doing?
Yeah.
You're either not fighting or you're not fighting hard enough or well enough.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I think that that the time is now. Like, honestly, there's no time left. And I tell people this all the time. They're going to pull every single lever available to them, and it's going to we're in a pressure cooker and the temperature is going up. And that doesn't mean that hope is lost. It doesn't mean that we're without purpose or cause. It just means that we have to be diligent and fit in where you sit in, right?
Totally.
We're not going to have, not all of us are going to be able to be on the front lines. Not all of us are going to be able to listen to Sasha Riley talk about what his experiences are. Not all of us are going to be able to bear witness to all of these things, but you sit in where you fit in, and all of these cogs work together, hopefully, to stop the machine. Does that make sense? I'm butchering the metaphor, but that's what I'm saying. So what helped you move past fear or hesitation when you were stepping into this work?
It's a great question, because I faced a decision point, essentially, to play by the rules or do a campaign the way that I want to do a campaign. Because I did a training through this organization called New Politics Leadership Academy. New Politics is a PAC, and they try to recruit veterans and service-oriented people, usually like from diplomacy or intelligence in the military. And they have a great program that trains you on like how to run and win office. And I kind of faced this precipice of like, okay, am I going to play the game? Am I going to spend all my time fundraising, reinforcing the system? If I do that, based on my background and experience and the district that I was looking at, I could probably win, right? I had a lot of people saying like, you would be perfect. This person needs to go. You would be a great replacement. You're young. You have energy. Like you just have to raise, roughly around $1.2 million. I'm like, well, how do I do that? It's like, oh, it's fine. We'll give you the list, and you just call these people, like basically from like sunset to sunrise. You just are on the phone calling people asking for money. I'm like, okay, what do we do with all that money? Well, then in the last month of the campaign, we run some ads, and then you win. I'm like, that's ridiculous.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, and then that's where it starts, right? Because if you say, all right, fine, let's do it. Let's do that. Let's do the playbook, the method that we know how to win. That's where it starts, and then you're only going to do more and more. You're gonna spill your glass of morals more and more, because that's just what you have to do to win. And all the things you care about, Kevin, you can't do those things unless you win. Well, that's the self-licking ice cream cone that put us where we are today, because everyone's so prioritized with winning re-election. Because if I'm not in office, I can't do anything. Well, you don't do anything in office anyway. So what's the point? And so I made a decision to not do that, not play by that playbook. And I said, all right, if I'm not going to play by that playbook, what do I actually want to do? And I want to throw out that playbook. I don't want to codify it. That's what brought me to the constitutional amendment. And if I want to lead this push to amend the Constitution, I got to do it in the Senate. And just so happened to be that Senator Durbin then said he announced his retirement. I'm like, all right, the stars are aligning. He announced his retirement on the day that I bought a school bus. And that school bus I've been traveling across the state in all 102 counties. And it's just like the stars are aligning. And I'm so glad I did it this way. I know it's a bold plan. It's audacious and outrageous, but that's what we need. I mean, can you imagine how boring I would be if I was just running for I was playing the typical playbook? I probably wouldn't be on this live stream. I would be on the phone right now calling someone in California.
You'd just be like another mediocre white man running for office. Like,
totally.
What's that? We've got too many of those guys anyway. So, okay, so this is a really important question. How do you encourage people to stay engaged in the moment that we're in right now without burning themselves out?
I know. So if anyone has the answer, can you let me know? It's particularly hard, for me, because I started this campaign with a typical millennial following of 100 followers from high school that I don't talk to anymore. And now we've had success on social media, and we across TikTok not so much. We're at 10,000, I think, TikTok, but on Facebook. Facebook and Instagram were like 50,000, and it was very cool that like our social media is like taken off, that people like want this message. But because of that, I'm the one like does our social media, because I mean, we're about as grassroots as you can get. And I tried hiring people to do it, and they just didn't do it very well, and probably because I couldn't pay them enough. But and so I do social media myself, so I'm sucked into it, and it is. It's a lot to like try to separate it. So I guess boundaries would be the first advice I would tell people. Have boundaries, put time limits on like how much time you spend on social media and things of that nature. And I guess you just have to be deliberate about it and say like, I'm going to go on to social media for 1 hour, no more than that. And during that hour, I'm going to write down all the things that enrage me. And then you know what I'm going to do with those things? I'm going to email them to my member of Congress.
Yes, I love it.
So maybe that's one way that you could stay involved and stay engaged, but not let it just totally engulf you, which is very easy to do.
Doom scrolling is not a hobby, guys. Just saying. Okay. Okay, so let's transition. This is a really good segue into the moment that we're in. It feels super heavy. Like, it feels so heavy. How do you acknowledge the exhaustion that people feel without giving into hopelessness?
Sorry, say that again. How do you
acknowledge the exhaustion that people feel without giving into hopelessness?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I think I did something with my background.
That's all right.
I touched the screen by mistake. Oops. Oh boy. Here we go.
Hey.
Sorry. Now say I was totally distracted there.
No, it's totally fine. Buttons technology. I get it. I totally get it. How do you acknowledge the exhaustion that people are feeling in these super heavy moments without giving into hopelessness?
Well, I think I try to be positive about the future. And I genuinely do have faith that we will bounce back from this, and we will put our government and our democracy on solid footing again. And as a history teacher, I take comfort from all the very tumultuous periods of American history that have led us to this moment. And the only reason that we've ever progressed the standard of equality further down the road is because generations of Americans stepped up when the moment demanded it to say, like, this is not who we are. Let us like reach to form a more perfect union and further realize the ideals of the Declaration of Independence. And that's what I feel like I'm doing in this moment. I feel like so many people, especially in our generation, are doing that. They're stepping up and holding on to those ideals. And that gives me faith and that gives me hope. And so I always try to lead with that times are bad now, but if we look at the arc of American progress, I believe it ebbs and flows on an upward trajectory. We're just on a really sharp ebb right now. And I do think that we will correct it. And I try to give people that hope that, we can't lose faith. We need to moor ourselves to those ideals. And if we let go of those, then we let the other side win.
Yeah, hear, hear. So what does courage look like right now to you for everyday people?
I think courage looks like doing the right thing that we know is right. And that's kind of how I've been trying to lead this campaign, is running a campaign the way I want to see a campaign run, the way that I think our democracy should operate. That old quote, to be the change that you want to see. That takes a lot of courage. Like I said, I could have been another mediocre white guy running for Congress, and I probably could win. And it would be super cool. Like, I would be, a member of Congress. Isn't that cool?
Cool. So cool. It's like, people, so proud.
People care about what you say.
Yes.
Yeah, you get to go on the news and stuff. Like, I'm a member of Congress. Yeah. And then, like,
get a little button.
Do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get your little
button.
Yeah, people can call me. I just ignore them. I don't have a boss, right? I wouldn't have to go to work,
Exactly.
But I think it's important to have courage to stay steadfast to those ideals, and especially when that means bucking like your party or your side. Like, I truly don't have allegiance to the Democratic Party. I have allegiance to my values, and that's why I'm not afraid to call out the failures of the Democratic Party when they don't align with those values or when they fail to reach those values. And it takes a lot of courage, I think, to buck a political party that you're trying to like run within or be a part of. But I think that's what we need to do. If we, like, especially this primary season for the Democratic Party, this is our opportunity to reform and refine the party into what it should be. That's why I always tell voters, is especially in primaries, vote with your heart. Do not vote for like what you think is like the most pragmatic or practical. Vote with your heart, because you're shaping the soul of the party in the primary. And at the general election, obviously, just vote Democrat, honestly, whoever it is, because we need to win majorities. That's it. I mean, we just got to win majorities. So, like, you're not voting with your heart in the primary, or sorry, in the general.
In the general,
you're going to vote for the Democrat because we don't want this to happen, right?
Right.
But the primary is your opportunity to vote with your heart.
Definitely.
And vote for the people, and wherever you are, whatever primaries you're voting in, vote for the candidates that have the courage to stand up and speak for what we need to do right now. Not just those who are party establishment company people. We don't need more of that.
Yeah, for sure. So what kind of political culture are you trying to build right now? Not just through policy, but through how we actually treat each other?
That's a great question. I think I would like a political culture based on competitiveness and compassion, because we need competitive elections. We don't really have it right now, especially in a lot of our primaries, and the processes and systems that are set up don't allow for a competitive election. So I would like to see competitive elections that allow all sorts of people to run and participate in running for office. But then we also need to have the compassion, meaning dialogue with the other side. And I've had a really cool experience of this in Illinois, which a lot of Democrats in Illinois don't do because everything is so gerrymandered. They can get away with only talking to Democrats, even progressive Democrats at that. They don't even have to talk to centrists.
Wow.
Meanwhile, I'm out in Pope County, Illinois, talking to river folk on the Ohio River, and there's a Confederate flag in a bar on the ceiling with a Trump poster with like Trump as Rambo. And I'm like, whoa, what side of the war were you guys on? What's going on down here? But then I talk to these people, and I treat them like humans, and I think it's important, especially for us, is to separate people who vote for Republicans and the Republicans in office. Just because they're not monoliths, and people vote for a number of different motivations. And if we paint the people who voted for Trump as like the enemy, or these are the ones that it's their fault, regardless, like let's not go for culpability. Let's go like reach for our better angels, malice towards none. And that's how I approach every single interaction with people who voted for Trump or conservative voters. I reach out to them with an openness and a genuine desire to understand where they are coming from, and that allows for conversation to happen. It doesn't always allow for the conversation to yield anything meaningful or material, but at least it shows up. You can show up and can listen to someone, and a lot of times that defeats these stereotypes that a lot of conservative voters have about the Democrats. And I think that some of that culpability is on Democrats for not showing up for downstate Republicans in Illinois. Because I'll go down there, I'll defeat those stereotypes, and I will show them, like, yes, I love this country. I love this country so much, I risked my life for it. When did you serve in the military? Oh, you didn't? Oh, so but you like the country, you love the country more than I do. It's showing up and talking to people. I think it's the way we build that sense of compassion. Even though I just jabbed at that last one. I'm sorry, that wasn't very compassionate of me. I was making fun of someone who.
No, that's fair. And I love that for you, but I feel like I will say that a lot of us are very angry. Still.
I get it. So am I.
And I mean, I have family members who are very staunchly like, they're family members I haven't come out to because I know that they're just going to be ugly and awful about it, right? So I just know that there is a lot of people who are not at the point where they're ready to even have a conversation with people who are still supporting this, right? I know. Everything that's going on.
I totally get it, and I understand. Like I have family as well that I know voted for Trump and probably still support him. But I also, as much as I know that, I also know that the answer will not come from vitriol or hatred. I mean, just look at our civil rights movement. I mean, Black people had no reason to be nonviolent or to try to embrace love and compassion, and as in we're all equal, let's uplift everyone. Dr. King embodied that movement, and that is what will win the day. I truly believe that. It's why I try as easy as it is to just fall into the well of hatred and be like, you guys are idiots. You are absolute idiots. How could you possibly get behind this? I could go into an expletive-filled rant about how dumb you are. And it's very easy to fall in, especially at a bar when there's a Confederate flag hanging above my flag.
Right.
My fourth great-grandfather died in Vicksburg under General Grant, so you could fly a Confederate flag in his home state. I don't think so, sir. Mm-hmm. I could go off, right? But I know that's going to end. That's going to result in gun violence, right?
Yeah, right. That's a good way to get shot.
It's not going to result. It's not going to solve any of this. So
yeah.
I try to remain that openness, and that doesn't justify it. I know it's hard to talk about, but it doesn't justify what people voted for or what they believe in. But I just know that the answers will never come from hatred or violence or vitriol, and so we have to reach for that compassion. And when people are willing to come over, we must embrace them, and we cannot play this. Now it's too much for you. Oh, now you think Trump is a bad guy. No, it has to be welcome. You're welcome. Like, no, there's no fault. Let's all move on together, because if we don't embrace people coming who reject Trump, then we're only going to make this problem worse. And so it's really hard, but we have to reach for that compassion.
It is so hard, and there's so many people. I'm with you, Kayla, who are still so angry. So I hear you, and there are so many people who are not there yet. But I feel like I'm one of them. But I feel like we will eventually get there. And things like what happened in Texas this last weekend are going to help us get there. So, yeah, it's going to take some time. I feel like we're in the soup. We're in the soup, right? And we're boiling.
I know.
So
if I wasn't running for office, I probably wouldn't be so cordial.
Yeah, right.
But I'm trying to set the example. I'm trying to live my values of what I believe in, and that's why I try to reach for that compassion and understanding before immediately jumping to gun violence.
Yeah, right. Okay, so you have some primary opponents, and I would like for you to, in the vein of creating a political culture, right? Mm-hmm. I would like for you to talk a little bit more about how, because there's only one seat, right? One of you guys, and you have an amazing group of people who are running alongside you. What do you say to those people to garner a spirit of team building and togetherness, and that you guys are actually fighting for the same things, even though you're fighting for the same role?
What do I say to my opponents?
Yeah.
Well, so of the three, the Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy, and Congresswoman Robin Kelly, I've seen them a bunch of times across the campaign trail. But really, Robin Kelly is the only one that I've developed a relationship with, because Juliana Stratton and Raja Krishnamurthy, they don't show up to all the events. Juliana less so than Raja. But even at the events that Raja and I are at, he doesn't really engage much with me. They both kind of like just ignored me, pretend like I don't exist. Robin Kelly doesn't do that. And I think Robin Kelly is a wonderful person. And if we had ranked choice voting, which I wish we had in Illinois, the Democratic stronghold of Illinois, why don't we have ranked choice voting? I would tell people, vote, obviously vote for me, because I'm advocating for myself, but I would vote for Robin Kelly after me. I'd vote for her number 2. And because I think we align very much on a lot of the same issues, and she's just a genuinely honest and open person. And I know that we are together in this fight, to continue pushing the liberal standard forward. When it comes to Juliana Stratton and Raja Krishnamurthy, just because they haven't been very open to me, we don't have much of a relationship, and so we haven't said much to each other outside normal courtesies. So unfortunately, it's hard to say. And like Juliana Stratton, she's campaigning on kind of the same issue about taking money out of politics, except she's backed by our governor, who's also a billionaire, and just gave $5 million to her super PAC to run ads for her right now. And
Shocking.
she had this thing about, like, I'm not taking corporate PAC money, but she still takes money from corporate executives, and so it's just a little disingenuous. It's misleading, in my opinion, and for that reason, I feel less of a bond with her because she's saying the same thing that I'm saying, but my actions reflect it, and I feel like her actions don't reflect it, and so that is why I feel a little bit of a strain there. And then with Raja, he's doing the exact opposite of what he's trying to put as much money into politics as possible. I mean, he brought $19 million into the race, and so it's with those two, it's hard for me to say. But with Rob and Kelly, I know that we're very much on the same side of things, and I'm sure that Juliana Stratton would be on the same side of things as well. I just don't know, with all that money behind her, what are her real priorities? What does she actually want to do? What does she want to deliver on? I think it's still kind of in question.
I'm actually going to ask that question right now, Cap. That was going to be my next question. If you don't win, and that's not going to happen because we manifest that shit around here, you're going to win your primary. We manifest. What are you willing to do to assist the winner if you don't move forward?
I think that very much depends on who the winner is. Also, like, the simple matter of fact is that this is the real election. So after the primary, the Democratic nominee is going to win. The Republican Party of Illinois is absolutely just defunct. They didn't even put a candidate for treasurer. Like, the statewide office, they couldn't find anyone. And the current Republican primary for Senate it's all over the place. And so they are not a very effective party, and it's just, even if every card-carrying Republican came out, they wouldn't win. So this is the real election. So what's actually more important to me is less the Senate race than it is the down ballot races, because talk about being winning majorities. We have 3 downstate Republican seats. And I've spent a lot of time downstate, and I've got to meet a lot of the people running. There's one nominee already, Paul Nolly. He's running in the 16th district. And then there's 3 people running for the 15th district. So there's a Democratic primary for that. And I would really love to help the Democratic nominee of the 15th district just to try and move the needle. Because I could bring my school bus down there, and we could marshal our resources and campaign to try and flip that seat. And I think that's a good example of how you don't have to be in office to make a difference, because I have developed this network over the last 7 months across the state of supporters and things of that nature that I can leverage, I feel like, to help a candidate. And I would want to help a candidate that can unseat a Republican, as opposed to, the Senate race. We're going to have a Democratic senator from Illinois.
Yeah.
So that's really what I'm considering is going downstate. If we don't manifest it tonight.
Manifest, everyone. I think that you are incredibly inspiring. I just want to point that out. And we need to clone you and put you in other places in the country. I know you're needed in New Hampshire. You're definitely needed down here in Texas. If you ever want to move down to Texas, just saying. Just putting that. We have puppies. Just saying. No pressure, but...
It's hard. Okay. I've lived in so many places, but Illinois is home. It's where my roots are.
Yeah. I've heard it's nice. I've never actually been there, but I've heard it's nice. So let's talk about the invitation. When one person gets involved, it ripples outward. So what kind of ripple are you hoping that this campaign creates?
Oh, that's an awesome question. I really enjoy your questions. These are much more fun to answer than the typical question. You should have heard the question.
Your platforms.
Oh, no, they get even worse. Like, at some of these debates, they will ask, okay, and so what are your thoughts on marriage equality? I'm like, we're in a Democratic primary. What are we talking? Are we going to talk about women's suffrage next? What question is that? Yes, we all agree with marriage equality. Can we move on? How do we feel about money in politics?
Yeah, right? Jeez. How funny.
But so the ripple effect that I would like to have is Honestly, I hope it can inspire. I'm glad you said that. I'm really hoping it can inspire people to do things, to try and be bold and do the things that they want to do. A lot of a big source of inspiration for this campaign I'm doing is there's two political campaigns I look at. One is Hunter S. Thompson when he ran for sheriff of Pitkin County in Colorado. And I don't know if you're familiar with that story, but it's a great story. And he basically was going up against the sheriff's department that was a bunch of jackboot like Nazis, you know, that were like the opposite of the counterculture of the time. And they're very militant and they were like beating up people. And so he ran for sheriff. He lost by like 100 votes or something. But in the next year, his campaign manager ran for, I think, city council. And then within 5 years or 10 years, they had completely reshaped the entire city council and the sheriff's department. It was all people that stemmed from his campaign for sheriff. So he never became sheriff. But because he ran, he kickstarted this movement of people that totally reshaped the county government. And that is kind of what I'm hoping for, because I understand this is a long shot campaign, but I know that even a losing campaign can be successful. And I hope that some people can find inspiration from this. And even if it's 80 years from now and some kid finds a newspaper article or something about this campaign and like does research about this guy bought a school bus and drove across every county in the state and did this, like, even if that inspires them to run and then finally win, if I don't win, you know, that then it will be worth it. It's about pushing the standard forward. It's about moving the needle. It's not about any person's career. It should be about our democracy working. I want to actually be able to celebrate on the 4th of July, celebrate that we have a democracy, as opposed to just like, oh, cool, fireworks. What do we
We're
do?
blowing stuff up again. Yay. Yeah, I feel you. 4th of July is not my favorite holiday these days. And I mean, it never was really. And we've got dogs and they all don't like it. And the boat booms and stuff. And it's not good for veterans either with the PTSD and everything. I get it. But not a lot of civic pride these days, I will say. So for someone who is watching tonight, who is angry and tired, but still here, what is one real step that they can take right now to move from watching to participating?
Show up. And whatever that means to you, I think that is the most important thing right now. I think showing up is half of life, if not more. So if that means going to your local Democratic county meeting or going to an indivisible meeting or 5051 or some kind of group of like-minded individuals who are organizing, or if it's a city council meeting or whatever it is, just show up and just start by showing up. And what this campaign has taught me is that just showing up then leads you you might not know where you need to go. And that's how I started this campaign. I started this campaign with I have no idea what I'm doing. To be quite frank, I still have no idea what I'm doing. But I know why I'm doing it. And as I started to showing up led me to other places and it kind of guided me along the way. And it's been a very cool experience so far. So I would tell you to show up and whatever that means to you. If you get an invitation, you see something, a flyer on social media, and you can make it, just show up. Just start showing up.
That is so important. Okay, here is my second to the last question before we open it up to our chat. And I've got a list of questions that they've been asking, so I will get to those. Take as much time as you need to answer this, okay? Years from now, when people look back on this moment, what do you hope they say about themselves for choosing to show up?
What do I wish people will say about themselves for choosing to show up? I guess I would want them to think I did my part. You know, that's what we were part of the generation that had to step up, and we did. And we all stepped up in different ways, in different capacities, in different modes, in different volumes. But everyone showed up and stepped up, and it takes all of us being a part of it. And I guess that's what I would hope.
It takes a village. Yes. So shameless plug. So what would you hope that to say about yourself? If when your great grandchild comes up and sits on Grandpa Kevin's lap and is like, messing with your beard and says to you, you were alive during the early 2000s and the first quarter of this century. They're like 6 years old and they're going to be like pontificating about what happened during this moment right now. What are you going to tell them about your role and how you feel about what you've done?
Whoa, that's a heavy question.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I would just be like, I did what anyone else would have done. You do what you think is right. And that's what I did. I thought that this was the time to jump into the political arena, to move the needle in as little or as much as I could, but know that I at least tried. Even though I don't budge the needle, I can then quietly descend into cynicism in comfort, knowing that I at least did my part to try. And I'll look at my little grandson or whatever it is and be like, yeah, I tried, failed utterly. Yeah, didn't move the needle at all. But you know what?
We manifest, Kevin. We manifest here.
That's the
okay.
thing. I'm like, you know what? But I fucking tried, right?
That's right.
That's all that.
The correct answer is
But
changed the fucking world.
But as we're manifesting, as you said, that's the consolation. That's just the consolation. Because what I will get to say is, no, we changed the world. I had this crazy idea. I bought a school bus, quit my job, uprooted my family, and it's like Feel the Dreams campaign. Essentially, it's like if you build it, they will come. Are they coming? I don't know, but they're going to foreclose on the house soon. And
at least I got the bus. So.
And they're coming. The people are coming. And that's what's crazy. And then on election day, we'll figure out if they are we going to have the string of cars that we see at the end of Field of Dreams. Are the people going to show up? I certainly hope so, because how cool will it be? Think about the splash and the ripples we'll make from that. Because it's not even if one of the other three candidates wins, like, all right. I mean, nothing material is going to change for anyone. It's just like a new senator, different face, same old, same old. But imagine the guy in a school bus wins. Imagine he spent $100,000 to the $30 million spent by his opponents. That person wins by driving the school bus to every single county in the state and talking to people face to face. Imagine the ripple effects. We will shock the system. We will absolutely shock the system. And that is what we need.
Yes, I love every, like, it is giving like Magic School Bus vibes, only like if Magic School Bus were to meet Schoolhouse Rock, that's where we are right now. And I'm loving I'm just loving this energy so much. Okay, so for our last question before we get to the audience Q&A, I want to thank you so much for spending time with us. We talk to a lot of candidates here, and they're all so great and wonderful grassroots candidates in the moment, and their hearts are in the right place, and they're motivated, and they want change to happen. But this felt different. This whole conversation with you felt different. And I want to know when you're running for president. Okay. Like, I don't think that I feel like you obviously know who Beto is.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of comparisons there. And I love that for you. I think that you're going to go so far. You're going to do so many amazing things. You're so incredibly inspiring. And the things that you're doing, please don't have a racist tattoo somewhere on your body. Please,
don't worry. No racist tattoo.
Can we just take a moment? Let's just take a moment. Please no SS tattoos anywhere. Okay. Like,
I've been anti-fascist my entire life.
And let's whatever skellies you have in your closet, let's dig them out and get them out in the light now. Because don't ever meet your heroes, because it's just okay. So before we turn things over to our village, thank you so much for the folks watching tonight. who feel energized by this conversation and inspired, and they want to be a part of what you're building. Can you tell them how they can get involved and stay connected?
Yes, my selfless plug. This is the best part of the whole thing. So you can go to the domain that was gifted to us, kevinryan.com, and you can follow us on social media. I think that's the coolest way to stay involved, and actually one of the easiest ways to participate is following on social media and like organically promoting our content. Like I said, I came into this race not as an influencer, and we were able to build a pretty cool following of people across different sectors of society. And that only happens because people like you follow us and share and comment and drive engagement. So please do that. It's a very simple, easy way. It doesn't cost any money. And I personally think it's fun to follow the campaign. It's become not as fun as it was in the summer, just because, you know, it's Chicago winter now, and downstate windswept prairies are even more hellscape than it is in Chicago. So we're not having as much fun on the road as we did during the summer. You got to wonder, why do we have our election in March 17th? Is it to make it harder for challengers to knock on doors? That's a conspiracy theory of mine. But if you want to get involved, go to the website, kevinryan.com, follow us on social media. And if you feel so inclined, you can donate to our campaign on the website. As much as this campaign is fueled by hope, the bus is still very much fueled by number 2 diesel, and now we have to put antifreeze in it. So it's very much appreciated if you could chip in any gas money, and that's truly how we've been funding this campaign. It's been so cool. So I call myself a New Deal Democrat. I don't know if you can see from my sweatshirt. And while I was in Benton, Illinois, I went into a antique shop because I needed to find a hat to pass around at this meeting to collect some money. And I found a FDR straw hat. And so that's literally how we've been funding our campaign. I will pass this hat around at union halls, at town hall meetings, and people put cash in it. And it's all less than $50 cash donations, and that's pretty much funding our campaign. So if you want to follow us, you drive engagement on social media, chip in some gas money. If you're in Illinois and you want to, put boots on the ground, we are actively canvassing across the state. We just sent out an email today with our schedule. So you can reach out to us. There's a couple forms to knock on doors or phone bank. If you want to do that, you can go on our website and go to the door knocking phone banking list and just submit your info, and we'll get back to you on how you can help. I think I've shamelessly plugged everything. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank
And
you.
if you're an Illinois voter, don't forget to vote. I always forget that. I'm sorry. I don't know if anyone here is from Illinois. I forget to tell people vote. Early voting starts on February 5th. So if you're from Illinois, don't forget to vote.
Wow,
and my
that's
name
like
is
right around the corner.
That's
Name's
at
right
the top
around
of
the
the
corner. I love it.
Miss
Top of the ballot. Got it. All right. Awesome. Village, it is your time to shine now. So let's start with some questions from the chat. I've been collecting them as they've popped up. If I miss one, please feel free to put it in the chat here. We've got about 10 of them. So how are you doing on time, first of all?
Yeah, we can go. We can push ahead.
Okay. Onward and outward. What is a New Deal Democrat? Spirit Fox wants to know.
A New Deal Democrat, it harkens back to when Franklin Delano Roosevelt won the presidency in 1933. And in his inaugural address, he mentioned that the American people deserve a new deal. And his New Deal was essentially taking the wealth of the Gilded Age in the Roaring '20s and pouring that into the American people by investing through direct federal appropriations into the American people. And that is what I believe we need. The issues facing us today, whether it's healthcare or climate change, requires robust federal investment directly appropriated from Congress into our communities. And that's what, in the shortest way I could describe, a New Deal Democrat.
Amazing. More information found on your platform, yes?
Yes.
On your website. Marvelous. Scotty, ABC, would like to know, what do you think about term limits?
It's a very interesting question. So I think I would rather see competitive elections before term limits. Now, if we don't have competitive elections, then yes, we need term limits because we got to get these people out somehow. But if we had campaign spending limits and publicly financed campaigns, so working class people, young people could run for office without financially ruining themselves or needing to know people who are independently wealthy, If we could level the playing field there and then pair that with ranked choice voting and nonpartisan open primaries and have a national redistricting commission to end gerrymandering across the country, then we would actually have competitive elections. And if we had competitive elections, I don't think we would need term limits.
We wouldn't need
because think about it, you have the Michael Jordan of Congress, and we have competitive elections validating that person is Michael Jordan. You don't want to force Michael Jordan to retire in 1992 if he's got, 4 more NBA championships in him. So that's my approach to it. But if we don't get those things, then yeah, let's do term limits. If term limits came across, if there's a vote, if we had a constitutional amendment to put term limits, I would not be against it. I just think that advocating for competitive elections is the more effective route to go.
Yeah, and I think it opens up more people to be able to run as well. Because right now
Exactly.
you really can't run if you have a full-time job, kids, school, and 13 puppies.
Yes.
Just saying, you just can't do it. So
They can't. And even if there's term limits, you still can't run, right? But if we had publicly financed campaigns, you could run. And if we had a more controlled process of like a shorter window to campaign, like a mandated window of campaigning with specific government-run debates for all legally qualified candidates that are publicly broadcast, we could level the playing field in so many different ways that would allow someone in your position to run for office without having to financially ruin yourselves and sell off all your dogs or eat them because you don't have any money. I'm kidding about that.
yeah, right. Not to President Trump there eating the cats and dogs. Yikes!
Isn't that crazy? We've moved on from that. I feel like we need to bring that back. How insane that was.
There's so many just insane moments that we've been forced to move on from because the fire hose to the face.
Cats and dogs one. That was insane.
Like, yeah, it's there's so many. There's so many. This moment in history will be well documented. Let me just put it to you like that. So, Captain Monotone would like to know, what is your policy on long-term immigration?
So I think we need to have a more streamlined process for people to enter the country legally, and pair that with also enforcing the border. Because we shouldn't make it impossible to enter the country legally, but we also need to have a process for people to enter the country. So I think it's enforcing the border in a humane way, and then making it easy for people to enter the country and provide visas and to be here legally, and to streamline the actual process to becoming citizens, because there are so many unnecessary bureaucratic steps that you need to take, fees you have to pay. And it's very interesting that if you have the money to pay for an attorney, your package usually gets streamlined through there. So again, we see money playing into this. And now we have the Donald Trump gold card or whatever that is. You just literally buy your citizenship, right? That's
so
not
glad for that. Yeah, I'm so happy for that. Like, it makes me feel so much safer, right?
And like the way I look at it is we have a process for capital to move freely across our border so that the ultra wealthy can evade paying taxes on that capital, but there's no process for labor to freely cross the border, and yet one is literally building the country and the other is effectively stealing from it. And we treat the laborers as criminals, and we treat the those who move capital overseas as elites that should be looked up to. We want to read the books that they had ghostwritten about how successful they are. It should be reversed. We should not allow capital to, and we should have a process for labor to freely enter.
Hear, hear. What is public education like in Illinois? What do you want to keep, and what do you want to change? That question comes from Bridget.
So public education is currently, the funding, I think, needs to be changed. It's funded on a property tax model that ultimately results in disequal quality of education across the state. And here's an example of the New Deal Democrat policy. We can have the federal government step in to alleviate that, to make sure that school districts are receiving adequate funds so that every school is spending the same amount of money per pupil, regardless of zip code. And you're going to need the tremendous wealth of the federal government as opposed to relying on individual states themselves. But it would be a symbiotic relationship between the state, the local and state governments with the federal government to fund these schools to make sure that all students are receiving equal quality education. I do like our focus on teacher training and the rigorous standards they have for teachers in Illinois. But I think that can be improved by accounting for professional experience when we look at accreditation for licensed teachers, because there is a teacher shortage, and particularly in more niche subjects like computer sciences. I think it's more important to have someone who's been an engineer at Google or a software designer for 20 plus years, that they don't have to go through some of the certification steps that a first year teacher right out of college at 23 years old would have to do. So we can kind of streamline that process a little bit. But the focus on teachers, I think, is good. I also really align with the Chicago Teachers Union, which I'm a member of, on their holistic approach towards education. That just throwing money into schools is not going to solve all the problems, because it's the baggage that students bring into the classroom that really depends on how much they're going to learn that day. And Chicago Teachers Union is really good at advocating for that. So that means like looking at housing, stable communities, adequate food, and access to nutritious food. And so those are really important steps that we need to consider as a part of public education.
Amazing. Okay, so Cap Monotone would like to know how you feel about AI data centers and regulations for data centers.
So I strongly believe in a moratorium on any new data centers, especially in Illinois, until we have a regulatory body and we investigate and come up with the appropriate ways to regulate them, both on their energy usage, their water usage, and the environmental impacts of those data centers. They need to be regulated as their own specific entities. So right now they're largely unregulated, and they just keep popping up, and they're soaking up energy and water. And Illinois, as I was talking about before, with the energy crisis that we're going through, transitioning from coal to renewable energies and not having renewable energy supply to replace the coal supply that is shutting off, well, that's getting exacerbated by data centers that just keep sprouting up. And so I believe in a moratorium on data centers. We need to regulate it. We need to research it. We need to know what we're talking about. And once we get those regulations in place, then we can start to have these conversations about, are we going to build new data centers and where are we going to build them?
Agree. Hard agree on that. Do you find a connection between what the U.S. does to other countries and what they do at home? Bridget asks.
It's an interesting question. I do think there's certainly a case of do as I say, not as I do, both at home and abroad. And that's been one of my biggest critiques of the U.S. government, pretty much in the post-war period. As soon as they rebuilt this international order with the UN and NATO, and then failed to live up to those very own standards. So I think there is a case of that, and it's unfortunately it's a testament to realpolitik and how the strong do what they can and the weak suffer what they must. And that's why I think one of the best ways that the United States can bounce back from the Trump administration, Trump 2.0, is to submit itself to the Rome Statute and the International Criminal Court, which we have not done. I mean, Clinton signed it, but the Senate failed to ratify it. I would vote to ratify it in the United States Senate, because I believe that's us leading with our values forward, saying like we subject ourselves to the jurisdiction of the ICC. Let's reinvest and let's rebuild our multilateral international network, because we all benefit from a world based on individual rules or individual rights, the rule of law, democracy, and liberty. That has to happen abroad, and it has to happen at home. And it's certainly not happening at home with this administration. But once we reset these things, when we win our majorities and we take back the government, we need to do it both at home and abroad.
Agreed. Scotty wants to know who you are beholden to.
I'm beholden to the people. I mean, it sounds corny, but that's it.
Put it on a pillow. Let's go.
I mean, if we're manifesting tonight, think about it. If I win this, manifest this, make political upset history here. You're going to look at my list of donors, and it's like a list of 800 donors, and most of them are from Illinois, and most of them are just like 20, 50, 60 bucks that they're putting into a straw hat at a union hall meeting. So those are the people that put me there. And so those are the people I'm beholden to. And that's what's great. I don't have to spend my time on the phone with wealthy donors. I will continue to do my town halls across the state in every single county, even the county where no one voted for me, because if you're representing the whole state, you're representing the whole state.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Scotty wants to know, what are your values?
So kind of like we've talked about at the beginning of this, I think saying what you mean, meaning what you say, and living your values. That like living the things that you believe in are probably my most important values. And I guess you could also throw in there about the kind of the commitment to service that we talked about before, about me serving you and you serving me. And if we recognize that's the purpose of life, that we're all just supposed to help each other get through this thing. That's actually, I'm plagiarizing Kurt Vonnegut now. Kurt Vonnegut's he's my favorite author, and he, in his memoir, Man Without a Country, he said the purpose of life to him was to help each other get through this thing, whatever it is. And I just think that's beautiful, and I think that's probably my core value is we just need to help each other get through. Life is crazy. Being human's crazy.
This time is crazy. We are in a very weird, awful time, and in order to get through it, we have to get the fuck out of our silos. And if there's ever a time to use expletives, this is the time.
Totally, yeah. It's like look around. You know, I think about the line from Christmas Vacation. I don't know if anyone's in that cult following as I am, but there's that one line where it's like, "Look around, Helen. We're at the threshold of hell."
Yes.
How worse can it get?
I love that movie. I really do. He's fantastic. Chevy Chase, amazing. Totally an asshole, by the way. Don't meet your heroes. Just saying.
I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Hey, Anna. Okay, so how do you address or combat hypocrisy from the opposing side? Matt Sri Becoming would like to know.
That is a difficult question for me to answer, mostly because most of my interaction with the other side is not with political candidates, it's with their voters. And I definitely treat, as a teacher, I always try to I look at students as if they're, you treat them with give them a lot of birth and a lot of freedom to make mistakes and say what they want and try to guide the conversation. I kind of do the same thing as when I talk to conservative voters to be like, I'm going to give you the birth to talk about what it is you want to talk about, and I'm not really going to come at you really hard because, you're just a voter, you're just a student, et cetera. So those conversations are very different than, what I would have with who I would hold culpable in this, elected Republicans. And so I haven't really had those engagements yet. But I think just a rigid adherence to fact and not deviating from that and allowing them to change the conversation and go this way or that way. I've gotten a little bit of this on social media through commenting, but social media is certainly not the place for dialogue because no one is interested in it. So That's not a good goal either. So I guess I'll have to wait until I win the primary election and start going against the Republican opponent and then get the popcorn ready because that's going to be fun.
Cannot wait for that. Okay, so Captain Monotone, I think I missed one of your questions, but here's another one. Do you think there should be accredited experience from military experience?
Accredited experience in what way? For college or?
It's a very good question. Captain Monotone, if you want to elaborate. Let me see if I can scroll up to get to your other question too. While you are doing that, what are your ideas on destroying PACs and super PACs for financial reform? You've already answered that a little bit. But...
Yeah. Go to the website, kevinryan.com. Check out my constitutional amendment that I plagiarized from several other joint resolutions. It's basically we need in order to end super PACs and end money in politics as we know it, we need to amend the Constitution to overrule two specific Supreme Court cases. One is Buckley versus Vallejo in 1976. In fact, we just had the 50th anniversary of it 2 days ago. That said that campaign spending limits are unconstitutional. So that opened the door to say that money is speech, that a candidate can spend as much money as they want on their political campaign. Then you fast forward to 2010 when we had Citizens United, and that's when corporations were granted the same rights as people. So money is speech in Buckley versus Vallejo, and then Citizens United versus FEC. Corporations are entitled to that speech. So corporations can use their money to fund super PACs. And those super PACs can then fund ads on behalf of candidates, et cetera. So in order to overrule both of those things, we need a constitutional amendment that essentially says three things. One, money is not protected speech. Two, corporations are not live persons. And three, Congress has the authority to regulate spending in elections. Once we do that, Congress then can pass federal campaign spending limits, and they can further regulate spending prohibit spending from independent expenditures outside a certain date from an election, et cetera, et cetera. That will pave the way for Congress to start to regulate elections. So that's where we have to start. But because of those Supreme Court cases, it has to be a constitutional.
Amazing. And Captain Monotone did specify college, especially for teaching allowances to fill those shortages.
Yeah, I definitely think that I know there's like credits that service members can apply towards college, but I definitely think there's a way, and there was one under defense-related activities. I can't remember the whole DODEA. Department of Defense Education Activities. There was a troop to teachers pipeline. They since got rid of that. But that's a great way to get military folks to transition into a civilian career in education. I would certainly love to fund troops to teachers again. That was one of the programs, a lesser known program that was axed by the, I believe it was at the end of the first Trump administration.
Shocking. Okay. I know, like Trump is just axing things that are beneficial to people. What?
Oh, and we're talking about a program that costs like $1 million. You know, it's like
that's a drop.
It's like nothing. I mean, it was less than $1 million. Honestly, it was like absolutely nothing for the federal budget.
See there? Can you hear me?
Me?
Are you there? Yes. I got a little thing that says reconnecting. Oh noes. So okay, yeah, it's fine. We're good. It's all good. Okay, so we are going to transition a little bit here. Kevin, you are welcome to stay. We've finished asking you all of the questions that we could possibly think of to ask you. You are an incredibly inspiring person. I can't wait to see what you do. Your primary is coming up soon, right? So
43 days.
Yikes. So here's what I would like for you to do. I am going to post this episode on our Substack. Okay. I'm going to send you a link to it so you can chop it up and send it out and use it for however you want. I'm also going to send you a copy of your sticker, which I don't know if you noticed, but you have a sticker in our chat here that people are going to spam the chat with right now. It looks so good. And I'm also going to send you a link to Rebook because I want to know after your primary, regardless of what the outcome is, I want to know how this experience changed you as a person. I want to know what you would do differently going forward. And I want to give you space to help inspire people who are also thinking about taking this journey as well. So all of these things are super important. I love that you are able to spend time with us here tonight. We're going to switch gears for a little bit. We still have more show, about 5 or 10 more minutes. So if you want to hang out and be a part of that discussion, you are absolutely more than welcome to. But huge W's for you tonight. Thank you so much, Kevin. Everybody, please say thank you to Kevin for joining us tonight. You have been so fantastic. Thank you very much for everything.
Thank you. I really appreciate coming on. I look forward to coming back to share the experience because honestly, I think that's been probably one of the most noteworthy things of this is just going through it as an ordinary person who's saying like, screw the system. I'm going to do it the way that I think it should be done. So I definitely would look forward to coming back and talking about that experience. I'm going to hop off because I have to go feed the dog. The one dog, not 14.
One dog.
You don't need any more dogs. The 65-pound pit bull already.
It's a Great Pyrenees. She's bigger. I mean, look at the little. He's so cute in there. Yeah.
I know. Stop. Come on.
Just wait. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Oh, thank you so much, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your conversation. And for anyone who's listening, feel free to reach out on the socials. I run them all. So if you DM me, that's one way to get a hold of me. And we're proud of being accessible. So if you want to reach out, please feel free to reach out.
Amazing. Kevin Ryan, everybody, from the great state of Indiana. Show him some love on the way out. Illinois. Oh, my gosh. It's another I. They're right next to each other. I mean,
I know. They're right next to each other.
It's okay. I'm in Texas. What can I say? I'm tired. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you so much, and we can't wait to have you back. Thank you. That was amazing. He is such a great guy. Thank you so much for joining us, Kevin. We're going to talk shit about you. I'm just kidding. We're not actually going to do that. Um, Village, before we close out, we're going to shift gears for a moment, but we're not slowing down. The one thing we believe here is that hope isn't passive, it's something that we practice in the choices we make and in the actions that we take. This segment is called Journeys with Jen, and it's where we take everything that we've talked about tonight, the frustration, the inspiration, the urgency, and we turn it into something real that we can carry forward. Our incredible moderator, one of our incredible moderators, Jen, is going to be taking the mic and sharing a reflection paired with action, something grounding, something doable, something that reminds us that we are not powerless. So, Village, lean in. And Jen, the floor is yours.
Hey guys.
Hang on, I gotta do things. Okay, there we go.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound great.
All right, awesome. I am so thankful to have this space to talk about things that we can do. I feel like a lot of us are very tense, maybe even feel paralyzed in the world today. So, one of the things, one of the resources that was actually brought up earlier tonight was the group Indivisible. So I hope that most of you are familiar with this group and utilize their website. But it's a great organization. They do have local chapters to where you can get involved and find things that you can do to kind of just feel like you're contributing to making a change and not feeling, helpless. There are things we can do. And right now, their big push is a No Kings mass call for eyes on snow roaches. And they have a virtual event this Thursday, February 5th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You do go to their website, register for the event, and then they will send you confirmation of that event. And then you'll get an email link to be able to hop on to the virtual training. But I think it's really important that we know that we are able to exercise our constitutional right to document and record these snow roaches and these border patrol peeps that are terrorizing our country right now. So just knowing what you can do if you encounter them, for those of you who are, that feel that you can go out there and that this is a calling to you. I think this training is extremely important, knowing the recent events that have occurred. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys are familiar with the website. They have simple things that you can click on to send emails directly to your senators, to place calls to your senators regarding different topics. But right now, the focus is on the terrorizing that is happening with these snow roaches. So there are things we can do, but we need to make sure that we're protecting ourselves and everyone else out there. So just wanted to get that out there to everybody.
Amazing. And this information is going to be located on our Discord, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I made a channel for you.
I saw that. Yeah, I'll
so
pop that in there. Yeah.
You could just drop the flyer in there and hopefully people will be able to find it. If you need access to our Discord and you are not part of the party that happens in there, then please send me a message. I will be more than happy to send you the link to be a part of that. Lots of really great information in there. Is there anything else that you wanted to add, Jen?
Just that we are all in this together, and I think that we hear a lot of the, we're cooked scenario. And I know that it can feel that way, but if we sit in that, then that does make us lose hope and we will not be able to have any change. We can't stay in that mindset. It might flow through, but don't sit in that. Don't sit in that mindset. We can't accept defeat. We got to get out there and be in contact with your local communities. There's so many things and building local and growing relationships with other like-minded people that are sick of this shit is going to be really helpful.
Yeah, exactly. And stop saying you're cooked. We're not cooked. We're cooking. We're just getting
Right,
started.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Hey, Rye. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much, Jen. I really appreciate you for coming up and sharing that. On Friday, we will have another fabulous tidbit from you. We always look forward to what you can share with us. So thank you so much for that.
Absolutely.
Marvelous. Thank you, Dia. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go ahead and wrap things up for the evening. But before I go, I want to pause and I want to say thank you. Thank you to Kevin for showing up and doing the work. Thank you to Jen for grounding us and giving us direction. Thank you to our moderators, the creative people who are in this chat, and everyone behind the scenes who holds this space with care, and to all of you for being here, for listening, and for staying in it. For a quick look ahead, our next episode, we'll be sitting down with an amazing woman from right here in Texas to talk about, all of the things that we've just done with Kevin. All of these things that are super important. She is running for a slightly less, I don't want to say important. It's still an important seat. It's not a Senate seat. But we'll learn more about her on Friday as well. On Wednesday, we have a special show planned for you as well. Yeah, you're right. I'm totally skipping Wednesday's show. Wednesday's like a huge deal, you guys. Wednesday, we have Matt who's going to be joining us, who built this app down here called Resist app that is such an incredibly important tool for people in the resistance to know and use. And we should definitely be talking about it. He's going to come on the show. We're going to give us a little background inspiration on what the events were that led up to this crazy moment filled of havoc that we are currently sitting in, and how to use this amazing tool that he has built for us. It is incredible. It is going to be so important for you all to join us. So please, please, please mark your calendars. Wednesday at 6:30 Eastern, we are going to be chatting with him. Okay?
It's a great way to track your snow roaches.
Yes, it's a fantastic way to track your snow roach infestation. Okay? And what you can do about it. Okay, so if you are looking for a way to carry this conversation with you, we do have Village merch. Pieces that let you speak your truth without saying a word. Most of those things can be found right there in our showcase, but you can also go check out Not Your Merch right now and find all of the things that fill your little rebel heart, and let you speak loud and proud without even uttering a sound. And it's fantastic. They make the most incredible stuff. All their hoodies are super comfortable. I'm living in mine right now, even though today it was like 71 degrees here in Texas. And there was like a huge freeze. Like there's still snow on the ground. I don't understand it. This is really weird. Most of all, remember this. Voting matters, you guys. Showing up matters. Follow anti-AI initiatives in your areas. No ALRPs in Texas and everywhere else. Thank you for that, Rye. Yeah, super important. Our civic duty doesn't start and stop at the ballot box, guys. Not in this moment. Change lives in the in-between, in conversations, in pressure, in how we show up for each other. You don't have to do everything, okay? You just have to do something. And you don't have to do it alone. So it takes a village. That's what this is. This takes a village. So please remember, it's not more, not less, more localized or more specialized. Absolutely, Cap. Appreciate that. Please take care of yourselves. Thank you all so much for being here. And we will see you all on Wednesday. Don't forget, okay? Thank you all so much. We'll see you next time. Love you. Bye.
It takes a village.